So I'd like to open up the meeting for the Franklin Conservation Commission for March 17th, 2022. Time is 7 p.m. and we will begin. Before we do begin, I'd like to make a small announcement. That is that we are recording this meeting, both audio and video. And if anyone is interested in making a separate recording of this meeting, would they please bring this to our attention now before we get into the mix of it. But without further ado, I'll open up the public hearing for the NOI for 60 Daniel Street, and I will recuse myself as I am in the butter. So
hello, I'm Claire Hogeboom with LEC Environmental Consultants, representing the applicant. I'd like to be able to share my screen if I could have permission from the commission for that.
Before you do that, this is Pat Gallagher. I think we may have a quorum issue for hearing this right now, if Jeff is recusing.
How many people do we have? Because I have to recuse. I am in the butter.
Yeah,
So Michael and I are here in person. It looks like Richard is on as well, unless we have any other commissioners on Zoom.
Yeah, we need 4.
A little thin.
So if we don't have quorum, unfortunately, unfortunately we don't have quorum for this hearing. I'm sorry to say.
Okay, I suppose considering that it sounds like we wouldn't be able to open the meeting tonight, is there a possibility that we would know that there would be a quorum for the following meeting?
If you check.
We have a quorum now.
We have a quorum now.
Oh, we do?
We do.
We do?
And
Okay.
Professor Kelly just
Yes,
walked
I
in.
just walked in. Thank you. Sorry, I'm late.
Okay, great. Okay, well then we can continue. Thank you.
Right.
We're good.
Saved by the bell. With that then, is it all right if I share my screen with everybody?
Sure.
Great. Can everybody see the screen that has the aerial map on it?
Yeah, got it.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so just to start off, again, my name's Claire Hogeboom. I'm with LEC Environmental Consultants. We are the representative for the applicants, Michelle and Chris Palladini, the applicants and property owners. Joining us as well as Greg Bunovitz with Borderland Engineering. He is the engineer who put the plans together that accompanied the notice of intent application. So the project area is located here at Daniel Street, just proximate to the road Daniel Street. We did include 60 Daniel Street as a part of the application because there is a small portion of the project extending onto that parcel. What you see before you here in white is the previous parcel boundary that divided Daniel Street from 60 Daniel Street. In early February, the applicant and property owners had the parcel boundary revised to very approximately this dashed blue line here. And that was endorsed by the planning board again in early February. So when I show you the plans forthcoming, those will depict the revised parcel boundaries that were endorsed by the planning board. So the project area itself is located here in Daniel Street. The area itself is comprised mainly of upland meadow habitat. We do have some bordering vegetated wetlands within a good portion of the rear of the lot, but most importantly, it does extend towards the project area and it remains within the tree line of this forested area. I just want to move on to this next figure to point out that we do have Shepherd's Brook, a perennial stream that flows along or just adjacent to the rear property boundary. So while there is a riverfront area on the site, it is well beyond 1,000 feet from the actual project itself, which is located up here. And lastly, I wanted to point out that, again, the rear of the site is located within bordering land subject to flooding. We have a zone A in the rear of the site, again, very far from our actual site or project area located near Daniel Street. And before I jump into the plans, I just wanted to give you a little context of what we're looking at as far as what the project area looks like. So you'll see the red dot here shows where the photos above were taken from. So the photo was taken from the edge of the gravel driveway to 60 Daniel Street. And essentially it's 3 photos that have been sort of merged together to depict the project area. So we have Daniel Street located here. And you see just before you, again, it's the open upland meadow. It's undeveloped. We have the neighbor's home located in the background here. And here we have the tree line where the bordering vegetated wetland extends up into, just between our upland meadow and the neighbor's garage in the background there. So with that, I'm just gonna depict the plans now. So before I jump into the project, I just wanted to note that Lenore and I have been in contact through the week. She pointed out that she went out to the site and reviewed the wetland lines. She did have suggestions for me to take a look at a few flags proximate to the project. In particular, it was flags A3 and A4 here. The plans I showed before you now are revised to show the revised locations of the wetland flags that I relocated as a result of her comments. Any other portion of the project on the plan has not really changed. The only part of it that's changed is the pool was just adjusted 3 feet to remain outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. So as you can see here, we have A3R and A4R are the new flag locations, replacing the old flag locations for the wetland boundary. So with that, I'll just explain the project a little bit. So what we have before you is a proposed single-family dwelling with 2 two-car garages on each side, 2 gravel driveways that'll direct traffic from Daniel Street towards the garages. The house includes a deck to the rear, a porch in the front of the house, and then we also have the in-ground saltwater pool surrounded by concrete patio. And surrounding the patio, we have a 1-foot wide stone stormwater strip. All of those components of the project are located outside of the 50-foot buffer zone, with exception to a small portion of the pervious stormwater strip that is encroaching slightly into the 50-foot buffer zone. We also have some stormwater from the dwelling that is going to be directed in 2 directions. One, some stormwater will be directed from roof drains to a subsurface infiltration system to the front of the house. And then the rear of the house stormwater will be directed into a depression, very slight depression behind the deck and behind the house here. And a portion of that is going to encroach into the 50-foot, the 25-50-foot. And additional work in that area is limited to minor grading. And again, all of that work is located within that upland meadow area. So none of this work is going to result in the removal of any woody vegetation or large mature trees. We have our erosion controls are depicted on the plans here between the proposed project and the bordering vegetated wetland, and that is going to be comprised of biodegradable straw wattle. We also have a proposed well located here, again outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. The house will be connected to an existing subsurface sewer line within Daniel Street, and that's going to extend from the proposed house to an existing manhole on 60 Daniel Street here. Following the construction of everything, the disturbed portions of the site will be seeded with a native wildflower mix or equivalent, and the erosion controls will remain in place until the site is stabilized following construction. Lastly, our application does include a variance request for work within the 25 to 50-foot buffer zone. Again, that includes a portion of the stormwater depression, some minor grading, and a very small portion of the pervious stone stormwater strip. So ultimately, the functions and values of the buffer strip will still remain and are not anticipated to diminish as a result of the work. So I believe with that, prepared to take any questions if you'd like.
Great, thank you very much, Claire. Before we get into questions, Lenore, could you give us your comments if you were able to get out to the site and review this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did get out to the site, it was last week. I did send Claire an email saying that I had some changes possibly to the wetland line, and we were trying to coordinate a site meeting, but that didn't happen, so Claire has gone out there. I just saw the plans this morning, so frankly, I just glanced at them. I haven't had a chance to really look at them in a lot of detail, so I'd like the opportunity to do that. And just as a note, Claire, you mentioned that the house will be connected to a sewer line, that part of Daniel Street is sewered?
Yes, from my understanding, that part of Daniel Street includes a sewer line that is actually privately owned by a neighboring household that had it installed a while back. Greg might know a bit more detail as far as that goes, if there's more questions on the details of that.
Yeah, I was just curious. That's unusual, so I was curious about that when I saw there was no Title V system proposed and connecting to a sewer line, because it's pretty rural out there, so I was very surprised that there was a sewerage system out there. But so it's privately owned, so it's not a public utility. Is that fair to say?
I think that's my understanding. Greg, would you be able to touch more on that, or?
Yeah, sure. Greg Bonovitz with Borderland Engineering. Yes, the sewer main within the street is actually privately owned. I'm not exactly sure on the legalities of how that works, not being an attorney, but that's the way I have understood it, that it is privately owned. And then just one point of clarification, that the sewer manhole in front of House 60 is a proposed sewer manhole. It's not existing. So there is an existing sewer main within the street, but it hasn't been tapped into as of yet.
Okay, thank you. The wetland line was my primary concern. At this point, I'd just like I said, an opportunity to take a good look at that plan. And as you pointed out, Claire, it's within the buffer zone, the 25 to 50 foot. There's no work proposed within the first 25 feet, so it meets the town's regulations for the 25-foot setback. There are no rare species or other natural heritage issues out there. The stormwater, I guess, is just, a function of what, just the roof runoff? That's not really a stormwater issue. It's just to contain the roof runoff. Is that fair to say, Claire?
Yes, yeah, the stormwater, the proposed systems are essentially to treat any stormwater coming from the house proper.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a better look at those plans and get a final recommendation out to the commission, but it seems like it's a reasonably designed project in the buffer zone, and with some special conditions, maybe the commission would consider it. I think one of the special conditions would be obviously that they need permission to connect to that sewer line system before the dwelling is constructed. You don't want to put the cart before the horse and get the house built and find out you can't connect to the sewerage system there. So that would be one condition I probably will recommend in any forthcoming, recommendations from me.
Great, thank you, Lenore. And now I think we'll poll the commissioners if there are any questions. Andrew, any questions based on what we heard?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Michael, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Richard, any questions for you?
No questions for me.
Great. And my only question was going to be what Lenore just addressed and making sure that we can establish that there's access to that private sewer line, because obviously a Title V system would be a drastic change in the project. But I have no other questions. At this point, this is a public hearing. If there are any members of the public who are on the Zoom who have any questions or comments for the applicant, now would be the time. Anything?
Hi, yes. Hello?
Yep.
Hi, yes. Chris Palladini, applicant. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. How are you, Mr. Palladini?
Thank you. Doing good. Just to let you know, that is a public sewer line that goes through treatment in Franklin. Just that section of that happens to be owned, was put in by a private contractor about 20 years ago. But that services Daniel Street all the way down to Addison Ave, the whole Addison Ave neighborhood. It's just a portion of that was never given back to the town. But that is a town sewer line. It is not it's privately owned, but it's a town sewer line. So, and we do have permission from the current owner of the sewer line for that to attach there, just to let you know that that's what's going on.
Okay, and thank you for that clarification. And we're going to need to end up continuing this hearing regardless. There are a couple of questions that Lenore would like to take a closer look at, and we're still waiting on a DEP number. So I think in the meantime, if you and your engineer could just confirm that any necessary easements or whatnot are there, that would be most appreciated.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments from the public? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion to continue. Andrew?
This is Andrew Mazzucchelli. I vote to continue the NOI for 60 at Daniel Street.
Michael Ryan, second.
Second, great. Richard, do you vote to continue?
I do. I vote to continue.
Andrew?
I vote to continue.
Okay, Mike?
Vote to continue.
And Pat Gallagher, I vote to continue as well. So the NOI for 60 Daniel Street is continued. Tyler, what's the date of the next hearing?
March 31st.
That'll be continued to March 31st. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, thanks. So without further ado, we'll open up the second public hearing, which is the ANRAD for Franklin Heights Parcel B. Is there any commentary from the agent, from the acting agent? Brian?
Thank you. I think that this is I'm looking at the wrong schedule, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is Franklin Heights. The second phase of that, the first phase, parcel A, has been developed. This is parcel B. And there is a development proposed right now, but this is for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. They're going to identify where the wetlands are, and then they'll come back with the development proposal. So I think I'd like to hear from Lenore on any thoughts that she has on it, if you don't mind.
Yes. Thank you, Brian. I have the NRED. I've been working on the review of it. I reached out to the applicant's botanist. Actually, he suggested that if I wanted to meet him out there, we could do that. So I did reach out to him, trying to set up a date. I was unable to confirm any date. So I actually went out there today to start my review. And before the rain came down too badly, I started to do the review of the wetland line. And I have a lot of concerns. I, at this point, have covered maybe 50% of the site. It's 6,000 square feet of wetland delineation. And I would say at least 70 to 80% of the flags I don't agree with. I would move them further up gradient, in some cases 20 to 30 feet. So I'm going to continue that review, and I think at some point, if things don't get a little bit better out there, I will probably recommend to the commission that we do not confirm this wetland line. because, as in the previous case, sometimes it's fine to go out and look at the line and maybe move a few flags, a few feet. But in this case, what I've found is that I need to move almost all of the flags. There are areas that I think were not even evaluated for wetlands. And so I think my recommendation is likely to be that we don't confirm this wetland line. But again, I haven't finished the review. This was just today that I was out there and what I was able to observe today. So it will have to be continued until I can sort of feel for the rest of the site. But at this point, there's some serious issues with the delineation. There's wetland upgradient, there's standing water upgradient, there's wetland plants upgradient, there's saturated soils upgradient. There's all the things you would look for in a wetland that are, like I said, some 20 to maybe 30 feet upgradient. So it needs some review, and I will continue to do that. But at this point, I think I would recommend that the commission continue it. And I'm not sure why the applicant isn't present tonight. And I have, like I said, I've been trying to reach out to him, but I haven't heard back. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But it's definitely under review, but with some serious changes that I feel need to be made.
Thank you, Lenore. Thank you very much. It sounds to me like it's pretty much this is something definitely requires continuation. And if the applicant is not present, right, before I say anything further, is there anything in the audience inside the municipal building that has any comment on this this particular hearing?
This is Diana Deschamps. I'm in a butter over at 24 Shane Road. And I think that it's good that we have that much review of this, because living in parcel A, we have had a lot of water issues, a lot of flooding. Our basement at 24 Shane has flooded multiple times. And even some of our newer townhouses that back up to Daniels continue to have water issues. So I think it's very good to be cautious with this based on our experiences in parcel A.
Okay.
Thank you for being thorough.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for coming forward.
Jeff, my name is Michael Girardi. I'm at 48 Leanne Way. I'm a butter here in Kings Heights. One thing I want to point out, I don't know if it's a procedural issue, but parcel B is contingent upon the certificate of compliance from parcel A. And that's been a bone of contention. The original developer cannot be reached for completion of that. I think the trustees from the Franklin Heights Association probably could speak better to that for me. And that's been going on for I don't know how long, but procedurally I would suggest that there shouldn't be any discussion about parcel B in the Conservation Committee or even in the the previous committee we were at, the Appeals Committee until the certificate.
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah, but I'd argue that there shouldn't be any work going on in the town committees until the first step of the certificate of compliance for parcel A is met. And here we have a developer who wants to open up the original agreement to start this whole process on the back end for parcel B, and parcel A is not complete.
So, thank you, Michael. Question for Brian. Brian, are you aware of any dependencies between Part A, Parcel A, and Part B, Parcel B? If he's correct, then he's right. It doesn't make sense to actually even continue this discussion.
I'm actually not aware of it, but before the next meeting, we definitely will be checking on all those issues for you.
Anybody who wants to see the Franklin Heights trustee meeting minutes that go on every month, it's been well noted there for many months. And I'm new to the development as of September of this year, but every one meeting minute that I have noted, it's always been noted as an issue. And I know the trustees have struggled to get it through. To be transparent, the developer for parcel B has agreed to move forward and I guess get parcel get the certificate of compliance for parcel A, so that's been a nice gesture on his part. But as I said, it's all incomplete, and, you know, the devil's in the details, and it's a legal contingency.
So Michael, question, just to be absolutely clear. So the developer of parcel A is not the same as the developer of parcel B, correct?
That is correct, and I don't know all the history, but I think the developer of parcel B has gone under a couple times, maybe even midstream on the parcel A. You guys might know more than I in that regard, but I think there was something there. I don't know who bought parcel A and completed the development or not, if it was the actual owner of parcel B, the developer here or not. I just don't have the history.
Okay, and one question, would it be possible for Brian to get copies of any relevant minutes, because that actually might be important for him to either review or at least have for the Conservation Commission to have on hand, so that he could actually do a further deep dive into what this is?
I think he should get in contact with the trustees of Franklin Heights.
Okay.
I don't know procedurally what's available to him or not.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we can suggest that to Brian, at least trying to reach out and connect with them. Okay, good, thank you. Are you, any further comments from you, Mike?
No, other than, there have been no plans put forward by, the developer of B, parcel B. I secured a drawing from, the Conservation Committee, which was, you know, publicly available when I went in to look for the NRAD application, so I can see what's kind of there. And I think, my understanding is, you know, the NRAD's, you know, the right step to go before drawings are produced, but as far as Lenore goes, you know, knowing the boundaries that he can work within, I would make note that the only pass-through to parcel B is through parcel A, and there's no way in or out of the 60-unit development being proposed. I would request, and I know this is made by another abutter in the last meeting, that there should be another exit out onto Lincoln Street that, for safety reasons, that can come in and out of the parcel B area. Parcel A does have a emergency access road to get out. It was put in, you know, before my time, but I'm probably possible that it was put in as a second exit out of a, you know, sort of dead-end development in case of emergency. And there's nothing on the plans the one plan I saw that would suggest a second way out onto Lincoln Street. But I think that the Conservation Committee should think about that, or, you know, because I think it has effect on where this guy could put a second exit.
That would be a planning board.
Okay.
And again, conservation unfortunately is limited only to us protecting the wetlands and such nature. The things like safety, fire access, things of that really falls under the purview of the planning board, to be very honest.
Yeah, okay.
But as despite how good that your point is made, I would say, but yes. Okay, anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay, are there any other people in the audience that would like to, or the virtual audience that would like to make a comment? Okay. With that being said, I would propose that that someone propose the vote to continue the ANRAD for Franklin Heights Parcel B to the next meeting.
Andrew Mazzucchelli, I move to continue the ANRAD for Franklin Heights Parcel B to the March 31st, 2022 meeting at 7:02.
Excuse me, it would actually be 7:04, but that's fine.
Okay, 7:04.
Okay.
This is
Do I have
Pat
a second?
Gallagher. I'll second that motion.
Okay. All right.
What's the date of that meeting? The continuation?
The 31st, March 31st.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll take a roll. Richard, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And whoever is in, I'm sorry, I'm virtual. Pat, how do you vote?
Pat Gallagher, I vote to continue.
And whoever I missed, Mike?
Michael Ryan, I vote to continue.
Andrew
And the
Mazzucchelli, I
last-
vote to continue.
And this is Jeff Lakers, I vote to continue. So we vote full house to continue. Thank you. Okay, and then we'll move on to the certificate of compliance. This is the one for 176 Cottage Street. Brian, do you have any commentary for us?
Yes, thank you. So there was an order of conditions issued for, with DEP number CE 159-1060 for 176 Cottage Street. They were to be constructing a barn on the property, but that never happened. The request for certificate of compliance confirms that the order of condition is no longer valid and that no work occurred on the site. Lenore White actually visited the site on March 11th and confirmed no work has ever begun. So the applicant is basically asking for the order of conditions to withdraw, and if they were to go forward with any work in the future, they would have to come forward for a new, with a new notice of intent, and order of conditions would be required at that time. So I would recommend approving their certificate of compliance.
Okay, so a question, a point of process question to you, Brian. So is it possible for the applicant, does not the applicant just simply withdraw the application, or do we actually have to vote to approve it such that they can then essentially get it off the books?
It has to be approved to get off the books. There's actually a box to check on the certificate of compliance that states that the work was not done. And, okay, so
Okay.
it's a formal thing that it's not that uncommon, actually.
Okay, got it, okay, sure. Okay, with that being said, I'll take a motion to approve the OOC for 176 Cottage Street.
Andrew Mazzucchelli, I vote to approve the AOC for 176 Cottage Street.
Michael Ryan.
Do I have a second? Mike, are you seconding?
Yes. Yes, I'll second.
Okay. All right, so I'll take a vote. Richard
I vote yes.
and Michael,
Vote yes.
Pat,
Yes.
and Andrew.
I vote yes as well. Thank you.
This is Jeff Livingstone. I vote yes as well. Okay, great. All right, and the last thing on the agenda is the Earth Day Delcart event scheduled for 2022, and I'll turn it over to Brian.
Well, thank you.
Before you get there, it looks like we have minutes to vote on for March.
Oh, we
3rd.
do? I'm sorry, do we? Do we?
Night, folks, I'm gonna sign out.
Oh, yes, we do. Sorry. I
Thanks.
didn't see that.
Thanks,
Yes, we do
Lenore.
have
Thank
a
you
March
very much,
3rd, the
Lenore.
March 3rd minute. Yeah. Do we have any comments on the March 3rd minutes?
Is it March 3rd or is it?
March 3rd, I think it's a typo on
Okay.
the extended.
I have no questions on the March 3rd minutes.
I don't either.
No questions.
No questions?
I do not. Okay. So, can we have an emotion to approve the minutes for March 3, or is that the right date, I should say? We should get that right.
Andrew Mazzucchelli, I move to approve the minutes for March 3rd, 2022.
Okay. Have a second?
Pat Gallagher, second.
Richard Johnson, I second.
Okay. And I'll do a roll call vote. Okay, Richard, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Pat?
I vote yes.
Andrew?
I vote yes as well.
Mike?
Vote yes.
Jeff votes yes. Approved? Okay. Now let's go to Brian and the Delcart event. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, it kind of snuck up on us this year because it's one of the other members was saying earlier, it was just last October that the commission had their cleanup day over at Delcart. So we're happy to go forward with it. If we can get some commission members to work with us on that, we'll be happy to do our part in the office and organize that, so, I don't know, I mean, the Earth Day, I don't even know what day it would be, in April, though, of course, it's April, close to Earth Day.
Yep, Earth Day is the 22nd this year, and that's a Friday.
It's a Friday, okay.
So,
Okay, so we basically, we have 1 month to pull this together, basically, right?
right. If I could just speak on that just for a quick second. I'm personally open to some sort of, a celebration of the event. I just know that, with regard to sponsors and preparing for it, it does require a lot of legwork and sort of coordination with other sub-agencies within the town. I know the DPW, they did a lot of work. And again, just being able to secure sponsors just requires a pretty good amount of time to sort of get clearance from their corporate offices. I know they want at least a month heads up, so we would be sort of cutting it close in terms of being able to have sort of the frills that we had in October. So I understand that Earth Day is in April, and it would be sort of apropos just to be able to celebrate it on that day, and I am on board to sort of do some sort of marking of the occasion by being at the park, but I just wanted to give everyone a heads up in terms of the amount of the planning it takes to sort of be able to have that.
So, question, I think it was Pat and Andrew that basically that really led this last year. Is this correct? Do I remember correctly, right?
Yes. Yep.
Right. So you guys have a list of sponsors that you were able to pull together. And I do remember it was a great deal of work on your part, right? So, yeah, we're really cutting it very, very close. We basically would have to start Monday.
Well, I wonder if we try and do something in May, and I think a lot of the materials that we had prepared can probably be reused. I imagine we probably still have some of the budget from the Falls event that hasn't been spent. But I think it would be a good idea to do it this spring, if not on Earth Day itself, just to get back on track with kind of the typical time that we hold it.
I think I agree with you very much, Pat. I think on a practical level, if we moved it out yet, say to mid-May at least, maybe even give ourselves a minimum of 2 months to prepare, I think that would make a lot more sense.
I think that sounds good.
Is there a particular weekend, guys? I don't have the calendar in front of me. That would make sense. I mean, sometime around the May 22nd or whatever it is.
Yeah. What if we aimed for, so the 21st is a Saturday, May 21st is a Saturday, and that's the weekend before Memorial Day. So that might be a good one.
Okay.
If I imagine people will be in town and whatnot.
Okay, yeah, why don't we just shoot for that, unless anyone has an objection, why don't we just shoot for May 21st then?
That's good.
Yeah, and I guess the obvious question is that, again, Pat and Andrew, you guys did a huge amount of work last year for this. I hesitate asking if you'd be up for it again this year. You gotta have to pass the baton, I think, a little bit. But I'd be willing to step up to the plate and be one of the people, but we probably need at least 2 people as my guess, probably given all the work that you guys did last year.
I'd be happy to help. I'm actually not available that weekend. I could do the weekend prior, but I'd love to help set it up and plan.
So you want like Mike and me to take the reins of it, take the reins?
Sure, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just I think the best thing to do is, one of the things that would be very helpful if you guys could send us a list of all the people you contacted last year, so that maybe we can start making repeat calls and say, hey, you guys did, you guys hosted it last year, would you like to do it again this year? Now I find it's the easiest to start with the people that know, or at least contributed prior.
Yep.
Absolutely, yes. I have their contact information still, I believe.
Perfect,
So,
perfect.
I'll be able to
Yeah.
help you out in that regard.
And I think also, if I remember correctly, that getting things like materials, bags, tables, stuff like that, didn't we work with the DPW to get at least some of those materials, things that we needed to set up, a site for, or a working site for the Delcart event, correct?
Yes, I don't know who exactly had provided, but I think we had the tent that we borrowed and DBW
Okay,
provided tables and other chairs
table,
and whatnot.
okay, right. Okay. Okay, great. Okay. I'll take that on to work with the DPW to see if we could have, if there's a point of contact that we can have to work at to get what we need. Okay, great. Anything else, any other comment or discussion on this topic before we close?
No, I think we're good.
Is there any other business that anybody would like to bring forward? Okay, with that ensuing silence, I'll take that as a no. And with that, I'll take a motion to close the meeting for March 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay? All right, let's do the roll call. Richard,
Yes.
Pat,
Vote
Vote to close.
Andrew,
Vote to close, thank you.
Mike,
Vote to close, thank you.
Jeff votes to close. We are done. Thank you very much, guys.
Have a good
Thanks,
night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good meeting.
All right.
Recording stopped.
Okay. Do you have the COC, or should we swing by later?
Got it right here.